AI is pretty much changing every marketing and advertising function.
Consumers watching TV, it was just about the right message to the right person at the right time, right? But now there are more boxes before that, which is right data, right analysis, right insight.
The only thing I find missing in young marketers and with the advent of technology is that we've stopped meeting the consumer.
With the AI tools coming in, I think, democratization of creativity has also, sort of become very, very prevalent across agencies, brands.
They needed a 3D/2D animation done in 3 days. It was a 45-second ad which has to go pan India. But we were able to do it.
Hello, everybody. This is a special podcast on AI, and I have with me Satya from Google YouTube. I have Akshay Gurnani, who is the co-founder of Shebang, and I have with me Deepali Nair, who is currently heading marketing for Biocon, and we have Nikesh, who claims to be India's first AI creative studio. I think he is one of the first for sure. So AI is pretty much changing every marketing and advertising function. So we'll take stock of how it's changing, what is changing, where are we, what is our experience in a free flow kind of a discussion. So Satya, can you just tell us how do you think it's affecting the core of advertising?
It's such a pleasure to be here. But first, I'll also try and define AI in all of these contexts, right? Because AI is a huge field. But AI, from the context of marketing, for me, is something that gives marketing efficiencies. It gives marketing a lot of speed, and it gives marketing a lot of richer insights, and allows marketing to sometimes do impossible things. From a strategy point of view, let's maybe telescope a little bit. Companies exist for 2 or 3 reasons. They exist for obviously creating a product or a service and then selling that and generating revenues and profits in the process, getting a larger market share. But at Google, what we have really seen is that those business objectives can be broken down into smaller marketing objectives. There are some brands which focus on what we call awareness and consideration. So they are more focused on the branding aspects of it, and obviously sell through distribution and all of that. There are brands which are purely online, selling it via platforms, and you don't even see or feel that company, but it reaches its consumer. If you just take the classic traditional company, which is a company that sells soaps, the old paradigm was to come up with what is known as a key visual or a key asset, and use that as the creative base to then come up with variations. We are now seeing brands which are actually creating entire 30-seconders by not even physically using a camera and a model, right? But even more interesting and even more fundamental, I feel, are what people are doing with data and analysis using AI. So today the company that will win is the company that will actually master creative and master data, right? And I like to call them the 2 bookends, data on one side and the creative on the other side, and everything else in between. So at the beginning, when life begins, is data, and at the other end of the cycle is creative. So both at the data end and at the creative end, there are massive changes that are happening using AI.
Gen AI is what is new. So if you look at the older AI's usage into programmatic advertising and media evaluations and programming and stuff like that, I think it added efficiency and speed, Whereas what has happened with Gen AI is that it has gotten into the creative aspects of, marketing and branding. And there again, it is adding speed as well as, production of creatives. It's impacting everything in brand strategy and, so on. Satya or anybody else in the panel to talk about is the impact on search, because to me, that's a huge change that's happening on account of the LLM. And that's going to change the world, maybe not for the FMCG marketers, but everybody else, on the search side.
I think we agree that a lot of our searches are probably happening on an AI tool in some form or the other. The way they're trying to also integrate so much more in the search, right? In terms of, I can probably start, I think apparently that you can do a Shopify plugin now, you can start shopping through a chat GPT. I think the conversational move to a brand saying, how do I, of course, yeah, feature in the AI snippets on a Google search page, but also how do I start featuring on a chat GPT search page as well. With AIs coming on the phone as well, you're expecting the answers to be absolutely bang on to the point to exactly what you're searching for. I think it's an interesting space to be in right now, lots to be learned as we go along.
So the whole space of the starting point of who are you, who you want to reach, and what is your position. That itself, I think, the whole test part of it, the preparation part of it, can now be done virtually rapidly, completely. And more than anything, you are able to now look at the same time more than one set of segments. We were used to saying one low hanging fruit. I think the big difference is that you can see multiple low hanging fruits, the experiences of other brands that can be done in super speed. Why the whole thing of competitive tracking, you can do it virtually. So all the inputs required, all the research is required, all the hypothesis required, all the test cases required. I think the whole time can be crunched from maybe something like at least weeks to hours and days.
Then if I want to actually analyze multiple products before I make that purchase decision, I have to jump through hoops. I have to jump through probably 5, 6 links, go through it, read through it, watch like 5, 6 YouTube videos to get to that decision. Probably if I want to make an informed decision, it will actually do the analysis on my behalf. Go and read through all the probably 3 or 4 or 5 links and then give me a table to decide which should go. An informed decision can be reached.
I want to make a point here about being a responsible marketer. I will not name the agencies, okay, but agency groups, international ones. There is one who has built consumer cohort models for us to do research in seconds. Models and cohorts that they offer for research are not based on any human data at all. And for all you know, AI could be hallucinating, and I can sit here doing that on my ChatGPT paid and professional version. So I think that's where marketers need to become more responsible about what is that base when you're using the AI model and for what kind of a purpose. And by giving this example, I wanted everybody in the panel to share their personal stories of how they've experienced.
I think trust and verify is very important. There are a lot of, you can say, platforms where you can actually get a response or sorts, but it's key to understand the underlying models. It's key to understand where the data is coming from. It's key to understand what amount of data is exactly out there in that sense. With Google, Gemini, we've had the good fortune of being around for many years. Actually, we became an AI first company about 10 years ago. Fundamentally, I saw that AI algorithm work under the hood almost 10 years ago.
In terms of how it serves
in terms of how it serves content, right? There were like maybe 50 million users and all of that.
Correct.
And suddenly you had new users coming in. So how do you give them the best possible video? Now that was possible through those underlying algorithms which relied on machine learning and things like that, right? So I think trust and verify is very, very important. Trust, do your research, understand how these AI platforms are.
So let's move to the creative development process and how it is gonna dramatic change right at the heart of it in terms of what is required, the speed with which it is required, and how do you do it. So Nikesh, you want to just tell us about what is happening in this whole space?
Now, with advent of generative AI and a lot of tools like the VO3 from Google or Midjourney for that matter for image creation and all that, they've developed tools that can enable marketing teams, enable brand teams to create and test creatives at much faster pace. You can actually create videos, create even big scale campaigns at much faster speed and with much lesser bottlenecks and few interventions, to be honest. Now, this can look very different for different kind of people. If you want to start up an e-commerce brand today, it doesn't require much. As long as you have a product, you can start, right? You can go to a website, create a startup website, start running ads on Google and Facebook. Nothing stops you from doing it. YouTube has come recently and said out loud that unless there is a proper narrative, and there is a proper story behind an AI video, we are now going to showcase that videos to people. If you're a media buyer, you think just because it gets rates up a lot of views doesn't mean that that's going to be and end up with the right kind of audience of purchase that I want. But at the same time, I would still say having a creative team with you would always help, because that's what end of the day creativity means, right? It's not just one person executing an entire campaign. Never has the campaign happen that way. It's always been a team effort. It's always been people putting their heads together, the experiences everybody brings onto the table that gives you the right kind of outcome.
Thank you, for saying what you said. Shripad, Akshay, and Satya, in terms of skill upgradation at my previous company, which is the CK Builder Group, we ran workshops for our brand teams, not for the agency, where we worked with them on LLMs, which were to do with copy, visuals, and sound. Now, what was the output that we expected from our teams? Not creatives. Okay, we actually did a workshop to just produce a better brief, to give music pieces, to do sounds, to do visuals, and of course, give thought starters to the agency. We also got Nikesh with a studio such as yours to produce the film, where my traditional agency gave the creative idea and then the studio created an output. Personal experience across many of the work that we've done internally is that it's best to do VO with a human and do a hybrid of that. There's no point trying to achieve perfection on the VO side with an AI film. Then I'd love for Akshay also to share his experience, because he's also in, which are dying in the creative generation.
Yeah, no, so I think, for us, when we think of creative, we think about consumer first, right? Like, what are we trying to create for the consumer? I feel like today, the AI tools have become like a focus group with millions of respondents, right? We're able to get inciting a lot quicker than what we did maybe like a few months ago, if you ask me, not when years, a few months ago, right? Like, of course, there's no substitute to talking to customers, but I think just deriving starting points for ideation has become very, very easy with the AI tools coming in. I think, democratization of creativity has also, sort of become very, very prevalent across agencies, brands. Now, suddenly everyone is contributing, and now the creative guy is saying, how do I sieve out the better one from the not so good ones? I think now everyone can become their own voiceover artists while creating content in that sense. In fact, right now I'm also producing a film for one of my clients. It's going to be a 4-minute long film. We have 18 cut downs in 6 different languages. Now, if I had to actually produce this film, with real people, real locations, easily a 4 crore film. But today I'm making that in maybe 35 lakh. Right, with the cut downs, with the 20-seconders and the 10-seconders and the 6-second bumpers.
You were talking earlier about jobs and jobs getting impacted.
Yeah.
What I really think that AI will let you do is not that your job is no more, but that you can do more. The fact that you can do it for 35 lakhs also implies that you can do it for much faster and probably do 10. I think it's important to come back to your original question also, which talks about the entire marketing chain. Because there are 2 bookends to really think hard about. One is the creative side. A lot of excitement around the creative side because AI actually has come out from below the hood in the last 2 years. Earlier, if you were a search practitioner, it meant sitting down and optimizing a campaign on a minute-by-minute basis, daily basis, weekly basis, where you would continuously learn and see, what campaign is doing well, what campaign is not doing well. But a lot of that now uses AI and is like automated. So there's a product called AI Max, which not just does that for you, which is how to get the best keyword, but it's also automatically creating the asset, which is on the creative side of it.
Yeah.
And it's also dynamically creating a landing page on the basis of what the consumer is. So it's stitching all 3 ends of the spectrum, which is how do you get the right insight, how do you generate the right creative, and how do you also drive the right kind of consummation of that search query, through a sale and things like that.
I think just quickly also coming to the job aspect, right? I know that, like, I was actually hiring for a copywriter the other day. This girl, the first line in her resume said, she's a copywriter, senior copywriter, said proficient in ChatGPT and Perplexity. So in my head, I'm thinking, wait, I'm hiring a copywriter who's proficient in ChatGPT and Perplexity. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? On my LinkedIn, I got some 75, 80 people writing in with their perspectives, but like, it's making me think now, saying, is it a good Or is it a questionable thing? Is this person only going to be using the AI tools to generate copy, right? Like, I don't know. I don't know.
You're ideating a campaign and you're thinking about a narrative, right? Which a lot of times, I think Satya was earlier saying as well, in terms of context, these are pre-trained data a lot of times. That context can be missing, right? And asking and going down directly and sitting down with the chat GPT and ideating, I don't think it's a good way or the right way to start any idea or to start any threads. It should start with you. Person thinking, saying, okay, this is the narrative. Now sit with ChatGPT or any LLM for that matter to expand on that, because it will put legs to that idea and it'll throw fire at it that it'll blow out. And you can have different angles to it. But starting going to an LLM and asking, hey, you know what? I need a campaign. This is what it is. Give me 5 ideas. It's a very bad format, and that's where people are going wrong. But if you are trying to ideate and do everything with the tool, first of all, then you are not required, right? Like, what is the point of, me as my job in that entire aspect? You're not required if I'm utilizing everything with an AI. Use a tool as a crux to take you forward rather than, as the main drivers.
So I think there are two parts. First is that the so-called media work, there is a lot of work that you do on media. I think that we had just started to automate a little before AI, and suddenly I think we are at a stage where a media work will be done fully in maybe another few months. Well, all media work will be automated. Second very important thing that you said is that the full, I'll call it product,
Yeah.
or full delivery, let's say, which is from insight to the creative and the delivery, is what can be
Done with it.
full thing
Yeah.
can be done by AI with people like Google.
So absolutely, you put 3 boxes in that chain, but there are 7 boxes at least that I know in my presentation that I make, right? For consumers watching TV, it was just about the right message to the right person at the right time, right? But with proliferation of more platforms, it is right message, right person, right platform, and at the right time. But now there are more boxes before that, which is right data, right analysis, right insight, then the right message to the right person using the right platform at the right time. But now all of that, it's not like just a series of boxes, it's a multiverse. Because now earlier I would say that, okay, no, let's not create a Tamil ad because it's more work, so we'll just play the English ad in that region. But now you can't just make a Tamil ad, but you can make a Tamil ad for 4 different people in the same family. So there's a lot of boxes, which is the entire work, media work part that you talked about. Lot of boxes, and all of them have some element of AI, some element of automation. But at the end of the day, you still need the architect. Earlier you were just a media planner, but I would say there is a new person that we need who really is the media architect in that sense, right? Who can architect the entire chain from here to there.
Yeah. In fact, I think you guys have PMax, and Meta has the Advantage Plus shopping. Literally, it's like a click of the button, you submit maybe 5-6 creatives. Automatically, it resizes, creates, deploys, and optimizes for itself. And literally, you're just checking the dashboard once in a few days to see what's happening here.
I mean, imagine the possibility that someone has just clicked on an ad for a shoe.
Yeah.
But on the back end, that this person now is
in market for it.
Not just in market for it, but this person is, let's say, a teenager. You will dynamically then create the right kind of image for your feed, right? Even before he or she lands out there. So
the thought that was crossing my mind when Satya gave this example of the show was that, we all used to want to do these things, 20 years ago. And I still remember, I used to work for HSBC Mutual Fund, and we wanted to appeal to people to do SIPs, okay? So systematic investment plan. And you ideally wanted to do this, that, if you went to a, top exec, you wanted to give them an example of doing 50,000 rupees per month SIP. And then you went somewhere else and you wanted to give an example of 2,000 rupees SIP, so on and so forth. And I just feel somewhere that, the brains behind the appeal that you want to make to your target audience has remained the same. It's just that the process and way of doing it has become far more efficient. And the second thing that has happened is that it's possible for us to do a segment of one. Really, really possible. So today, theoretically, I could have 50 pieces of creatives, appealing to 50 different consumer cohorts, and there is method and possible through media to, to serve it to those 50 different, cohorts for me. So, some way the principles remain the same, but, the process of doing it is entirely different. And I think the marketers, the ones who will succeed, will be the ones who will realize this, that look, the basic principles of managing a brand and the appeal and understanding what your consumers are all about will continue to be the same. It's just that we need to serve with a different process. The only thing I find missing in young marketers and with the advent of technology is that we've stopped meeting the consumer. Now, you may call me old world or old fashioned, but I think the insights that I get, even when I meet the consumer and how they interact with their machine and the phone and what they're doing, I think is invaluable. So I hope that AI doesn't just make us sit in the room and just do all our marketing from that.
Okay, because of the whole thing of audience of one, but you can at the same time cover the full spectrum of right from acquiring new customers to upsell. You can be constantly on the on the that entire thought process, and you can have multiple layers that you can parallelly start working on and simultaneously get on with it.
Yeah, it comes from the consumer, right? I mean, earlier we would all, as a marketer, say that let's focus on the bullseye consumer and spend inordinate amounts of time, effort, and money on that consumer, right? But at this point of time, on the other end of the spectrum, as Deepali just said, right, an audience of one. So in that continuum, saying that you had to focus on a cohort and create like marketing for that cohort, but now you can do it for everyone technically. There are brands which are doing that, especially when they're able to dynamically change the creative that gets served on the product page on the website, right? That is marketing to one. We are still doing it at abstract levels, like if a consumer comes from India, show them the Taj Mahal, or the consumer is from Paris, show them the Eiffel Tower. But imagine being able to do that for every individual. But again, it comes from having better understanding of data. Earlier, I would say that the star of the marketing team was at one point of time the brand manager. The other star was the creative person in the team. But I think now there's another star who's like the data person, right? So I think now it's a marketing team of superstars, and everyone has AI as a superpower in a sense.
Just to add to what he's saying, right? It's like saying, can every website become a Netflix? Right? Literally,
Yep.
I see the genre that I like, I see related to what I've seen before. It's prompting me to pick up from where I left off last. And if every web experience can mirror what Netflix is doing, of course, it comes down to data and access and click streams and all that kind of stuff. But I think if that's the kind of hyper personalization the customer can get, then the chances of that conversion and the funnel and then even the post sale, right? Like I can actually activate the chatbots, I can do all that stuff where Martech, right? Send out those personalized WhatsApp messages, send out those personalized emails, down to exactly what I've been doing on my website or web interface or the app for wherever it needs to be. I think, and that's happening. I think that's happening with most of the brands who are today trying to sort of pick up this AI into their own systems of marketing. I think that's the future. I think, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And in the earlier session, Ramki was talking about how you can now create a production lot of 5 kgs of a product.
Yes.
You don't need to make 5 tons, right?
True.
So imagine if you can now take all of that back to your product to say that here is this one person who likes a shoe with this kind of a shape, and you can actually real time create that shoe, right? In that sense.
Yeah.
So that's where we're heading, frankly speaking. I think it means more jobs. Okay, it'll create a richer and deeper value chain in that sense. There's going to be more for everyone to do.
Satya, I agree with you, except that the ways of working may change. I was at a panel discussion with SHRM, and therefore the HR folks were there. I do feel that I think what has happened today in the structure of the way we work in the corporate world, big corporates at least, is that strategy is done at the top and execution is done at the bottom. If I say so. I think what AI will enable people to do is that the people who are doing strategy will be able to execute very fast themselves. So there will be a very high degree of execution throughout, the corporate organization that people will probably focus on, for people to do. So do not give up on execution is probably my message. And I think if you're younger, learn the strategic inputs, very, very quickly rather than, how people would wait and learn through experience and example. I think that difference will come. AI will create very different kind of jobs, though. Some of the jobs that we don't even know about today. But some of the ones that we know about may cease to exist.
I think the prompt engineers have become one of the top jobs, right? Like move over just engineers, it's become the prompt engineers have become
That
the
was a
new.
fad, I think, a year ago. Okay, even that has passed, frankly speaking. Yeah.
So, Akshay, can you just tell us how is this whole thing of the retail media networks and quick com? What is happening in AI in this space? How is AI dramatically altering that entire space of retail media networks?
I think even quick commerce, honestly, if you ask me, quick commerce is a complete data game, right? It's literally just a data mine of literally everyone's purchase behavior, stocking, pushing out push notifications, exactly mapping the monsoon to Taj Mahal chai to pakoda to, what I'm saying? It's practically become a complete data game in the sense that it exactly knows my frequency, it exactly knows my behavior, it knows exactly when I'm going to make that next purchase. I think and again, I've done a lot of work with some of the QCom guys, and we are not necessarily writing a lot of the push notifications anymore. We've set certain templates, but now the templates are being rehashed using AI themselves. So right from writing that copy to the image that goes along with the push notification is completely being programmed with AI. We're just creating the journeys. We're putting the intelligence saying, let's add certain kind of, journeys, click streams, all that kind of stuff. But the actual creation and dissemination is completely happening through AI. And again, this is down to that hyper-personalization of someone sitting, at a Shivaji Park at this time, getting a push notifications about this particular product or this particular restaurant at this particular time because they've been purchasing XYZ in the prior interactions, right? So I think that's where it's completely moved towards, and it's exciting because it's the conversions have gone up substantially, right? Like earlier, if you were seeing a click through of say about 3 to 4%, now the CTRs are much into multiples of that.
So, Satya, you want to add something to what is happening in this entire last mile? How it has suddenly exploded, how it's a huge opportunity, and what, like he said, so it's not just about performance marketing anymore. It's knowing the moment of truth.
Yeah.
ZMOT,
No, exactly.
ZMOT, you guys call it ZMOT.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes,
Zero moment of
exactly.
truth.
It's like at the right moment. How do you make sure that the right person has got the right message for the right product with the right insight, right? That the speed at which you need to take that decision is not possible with the human mind, right? I think quick commerce has just enabled us to do that model a lot faster and better. And it's basically, it was probably an unwanted need. I mean, no one was stressed out in life because they were not getting a packet of chips in 10 minutes. That was not what was stressing people out, but it was an unmet or unwanted need that suddenly happened. But I think technology is the enabler there, whether it is creative or whether it is data. And I keep coming back to those two bookends. If you figure out these two bookends for your marketing value chain, then you'll be able to actually do a whole lot of good things.
So in some way, we kept saying about the funnel and how the funnel is there. But there's some new funnel happening at the retail media network level, probably, which you need to be aware of, and AI is helping you do that.
I think the funnels in the traditional sense are broken, right? I think those funnels are like redundant altogether now because people are just transcending the funnel the way they want to because they're getting things at exactly the moment they want to. Like, I mean, I personally use Meta as my personal shopper. When I need to buy something, I say the keyword onto my phone and I start seeing ads for those particular products, right? So I get multiple options then. If I'm looking for a laptop bag, I'm getting 5 options to choose from of undiscovered brands I didn't even know existed out there, right? So, yeah.
The question that I want to ask is that the more I hear of the anecdotes, like the ones Akshay you mentioned, the more I hear very different answers depending on whether it's a brand for rule. The more I hear of the anecdotes, the more I'm discovering different paths and very different from each other. Regulated industries, maybe very less impact. Financial services is operating very differently. Impulse purchases is behaving. Rural India is behaving very differently. I'm just seeing lots of different kinds of funnels and lots of different kinds of neural networks in terms of the whole buying, shopping behavior, and therefore the opportunity of how to influence the purchases at various points. I just feel it's become very complicated, therefore, for brands, to manage all these neural networks and to make choices within them, because there is a resource allocation and there is limited resources, through which you actually decide where to put your money. Not just from a media perspective, even from just sheer reach, distribution, presence perspective.
So here's the thing: should not AI be helping her, right? Right to do what she is saying, isn't it?
Should, yes.
It should at the minimum give us possible scenarios that this is what you can do, this is what you can do, this is what you can do, and these are the pros and cons. At least that it can straight away today itself put right in front of us for us to take a call.
Yeah, I think this is a lot of learning curve now for all of us as marketers, as individuals, to say what's the right kind of an architecture to use to enable all of these, right? But I don't think anyone's cracked a model. Of course, it'll take time to get to a space where we know this is a good steady state in terms of how you can integrate so many things together. But I guess we're all in this flux of saying, let's try this also, let's try that also, let's try this tool, let's try that tool.
So I have this pet theory of saying that we are in the midst of the Big Bang right now. Multiple things happening, at least 3 areas where it is split wide open. Things are moving at breakneck speed, and it will be a while till things settle down somewhere.
Or consolidate. At least consolidation could happen somewhere.
Yes, it has to happen. It has to stabilize somewhere. We all get used to it.
The interesting thing though is that we've never had the big consulting companies focus on marketing and brand so much as they have in the last 2-3 years, because they're trying to figure out what the LLMs are doing, and LLMs are very largely impacting the marketing ecosystem. So that's one change. But now, now suddenly there are experiments being run by, I won't name the names again, but, the big fours on both sides, who are trying to do experiments on creative production, how to do implementation for brand. So that's one change that has definitely happened.
No, I mean, to add to that, even the recent example where Coca-Cola themselves, who has always been one of the biggest media buyers, one of the biggest creative advertisers in any way you look at it, are actually tied up with the likes of OpenAI and Brain and Co, the 3 big giants in the market in itself, to do a campaign, right? Which does a lot. When someone like that takes a move like that, it is combining data along with creativity and also the speed of AI's technology, putting all that together to deliver the right kind of results for them. And they did a great campaign. I think they saw about 50-55% increase in the brand recall for that particular campaign itself, which says a lot. We were playing around with this new thing called Perplexity Labs, where I was doing a deep research on understanding some of the marketing activities. And within about 15 minutes, I had an interactive dashboard of an entire, which is like a junior consultant jobs in any of these the top 4, the top 5, you call it, right? And that was done in a 15 minutes, right? That's the kind of power the previous generation probably never had. So if you can utilize it, it can take you places for sure.
Yeah, and right at the beginning, right, I talked about what AI can do, right? I talked about efficiency, speed, productivity, and all of that, right? But the one that I really love is the impossibilities. So we can make creatives faster, we can generate data and insights better, and things like that. But really, how do you take on the impossibilities? There's like excellent work that's happening, obviously, beyond marketing in the space of protein research, right, for cancer and things like that, right? That is really fascinating
part,
in that sense, right? And I that is the one that I feel that's going to create much more opportunity and jobs for people. It's going to be easy for us to think about how to use AI to do something in the space of pets, maybe. So I think that's what really is really exciting.
Okay, now one another area which is really coming up very strongly because of AI is this whole thing on measurement, attribution, and analytics. Earlier, we used to take very long time to get data, to do some modeling, to see what is working, to see what is not working. So this whole thing on what is working, what is not working will be at our fingertips.
My favorite example, it just blows my mind, is what people are doing with lifetime value.
Lifetime value.
Right. See, for a marketer, lifetime value is so critical. Right?
Yes.
But earlier, you would need to possibly run your business for 5 years, go through at least one up or down cycle to actually understand what is the lifetime value of your consumer, right? And then you would be able to come up with a model and things like that. But with AI, we are now seeing, using a lot of our customers using Google Cloud and all of that. We are seeing that they are able to predict lifetime value on the basis of the first interaction that you are having with a customer.
First click attribute.
First click, and that is mind blowing according to me.
Satya, absolutely on point on the customer lifetime value, aspect in identifying the better customers. I just feel that we will probably. Do all of you think, therefore, it will lead to greater proliferation of brands that serve absolute bottom of the pyramid, brands that serve at the top, because otherwise all brands are seeking always the most profitable customer.
So I think we had Ramki in the earlier session, and he went on record to say there are going to be far fewer national brands.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is what he was pretty sure.
He also said that, currently apparently the basket has got some 8.5 soaps. He said that there'll probably be 20 soaps, right?
Yeah.
And that's going to come from that only, saying that, look, I now know 20 different skin types.
Correct.
Earlier I could only comprehend one skin type,
Yeah.
but now I know 20 different skin types, and then I can have product formulation, for that. I can have smaller batch production. I can have quicker distribution. And I can identify the customer who's most likely to buy it and most likely to churn. So all of that, that great big dashboard in the sky that we were talking about,
Yeah.
I think all of that is going to happen.
Yeah, I think for the very first time, I've actually had conversations with some of these larger, MNCs, and for the first time, they are also shuddering, saying, we are not competing with just the top three. We're now competing with those new age startups who are coming with something very, very specific, to the exact skin type or to this particular kind of a weather or this particular ingredient. And the thing is, these younger new age startups are so quick with innovation compared to these older guys who've been around for 100 years. For them to get a product out in the market takes 6, 8, 10 months. The younger guys in like 3 weeks have a new product out in the market. They've already marketed it, influencers talking about it, creative is out there, they're running performance marketing, and they're selling.
Yeah.
I think that's the beauty of it.
And at the other end of the spectrum is the incumbent, right? The big brand. I think if they start adopting or restarting, the way they do things, they can actually do the same because they already have a factory in place.
And they have distribution.
What I mean?
They have distribution.
Yeah.
Do you also see an emergence? I'm asking this question to both Akshay and Satya. Do you see an emergence of this so-called trend of artisanal brands, therefore? Because one is, this whole you require manufacturing it and everything, but today, equivalent of a homemaker has access to the full chain and can do her own marketing and can do e-commerce and can do quick commerce, targeted to her community. And therefore, is there a trend that you guys are seeing in terms of emergence of a lot more artisanal brands?
I think absolutely. In fact, one question I always ask people used to leave my agency, I was like, what are you leaving to do? They're like, we're becoming an entrepreneur. And they're 22, 23-year-old. Or we'll figure it out. And what are they figuring out? They're actually starting their own brand, own, service, something, taking maybe their mother's been baking cakes for like years at home. Suddenly they've taken over, built an e-commerce, with their WooCommerce plugins and Shopify enabled, and they're doing local marketing in their pin code. I think also nowadays the customers have become a lot more woke. They're a lot more aware of what they want to consume, what they want to put on their body, what they want to put inside their body. And I think that's where the opportunity actually lies in terms of identifying some of these and actually building the brands. Of course, maybe the TAM might not be as big, but I'm saying if it's able to serve the purpose and need of an end consumer who wants that product, I say why not, right? Yeah.
One of my peers, they were running a campaign for a big automobile dealer. Now, the campaign was working really well, and one of the days, and the idea was to get people to walk into the store. Now, what happened was suddenly you were seeing drops in different parts of the country, and they're not able to figure out. Now, they obviously went ahead and they started calling up people and asking, what was the scene happening? And the insight was that it started raining in different parts of the country because of which people are not actually stepping out, because of which the campaigns stopped working for them, right? But with AI, the entire context of it starts raining, knows where, why that is happening and can quickly switch up and reduce the spends in a particular place. And
just one thought is that see, for digitally, we have always needed multiple units of creatives. And we first had a situation where agents like yours earlier would produce at scale, have more desks, so to say, or people. Then we had a situation where clients started, "Arey, chodo, he is not giving me on time, let me have my own team because they take long time."
Yeah.
Now what's going to happen next?
The number one ask I get from brand managers is that help us in-house the team, right? And we don't need a 25-member team. We don't need a 15-member team. We just need four good people, again, who could write prompts well, who can do basics of even Canva. Again, Canva has a lot of inbuilt
Inbuilt stuff, yeah.
AI stuff around there, right? Someone who can write the right copy, of course, get the right kind of consumer insight, who can generate the right kind of images, put it onto Canva, create a nice piece of content and publish it. And the lead time is no more like, 2 weeks or 7, 8 days. It's literally
Correct.
like, in the morning an idea is there. We produce it in the next 2.5, 3 hours. It's published because it's the internal team. So I think that the BAU, as you call it, the business as usual content, has now become very quick because brands want to in-house some of these services and at a fraction of the cost. And I think that's become the big need, saying let's in-house teams. This is what I'm seeing as a big trend among brands. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's happened in just the last few months.
6 months, 6, 8 months. Yeah.
Okay, Nikesh, you want to talk of some of your experiences in terms of this whole thing of, I want an AI generated creative and I want it tomorrow or whatever.
Speed is what, Nikesh, I want to talk about. So there's efficiency in terms of cost for sure. Speed is what I want to talk about. And second is, do tell us, what do we lose out on? Do we lose out on anything at all? It's not all good.
All right. So I think when it comes to AI, people have this notion that it's extremely quick in terms of the turnaround, which it is. I'm not saying it never is, right? Something that we keep saying is we're not taking the people out of the entire journey. It's not that I'm my storyboarding, my shooting, while all this is done to AI. It's people with that experience. I still have a director, I still have a creative director, I still have a DOP. Just that you have trained them to use AI to put their expertise, project their expertise to get this done. Now, the ideation to getting the final output, the entire pre-planning still is required. Second to this is, there was this recent campaign that we did. I think it came through Akshay and one of his earlier team members had come to me with a project which we executed. Now, the brief was very simple. They needed a 3D/2D animation done in 3 days. It was a 45-second ad which has to go pan India. And they came with a 3-day timeline. I have held 50, 60 member animation teams prior to this, right? No animation company with their right mind would say, let's go ahead and do this. But we were able to do it, even in media production or creative production in AI. It's never you input something, you get the right output. It's about curation. So you have to test it enough times to figure out what angle works. Certain times, certain things AI cannot understand. So then you have to use your expertise in terms of composting certain images outside of these AI tools and then giving it AI enough context in the, hey, even today I talked to our production office saying, why do you work with us, right? Let's put this together so that you can bridge that gap and then push your creativity. A lot of people are scared because they think it's AI against them, but it's not, right? It's the narrative that we are right now having or probably in between in the market in the US and UK is something I'm seeing most of the production houses or agencies are adapting AI into their system or working with someone like us to put both the hands together to get the kind of output that you might not have gotten, prior to this short one in Venice. You can actually create the sets online, utilize AI to get all that done. But time is something I think still people should, think about in terms of when driving this content because, like I said, it can never be input output. You can, like for example, if you're looking at Google VO3, right, and that's one of the major drivers in AI content in any platform today. A lot of people use Google VO3 because it's one of the easiest formats and you can get creative done. Because all you have to do is put some few sentences. It will take care of everything, including the shorts, voiceover, sound effects, music. Now, is it the best? I would say no, right? It's something you can test an idea with, right? But if you really want to produce something, you want a high level production, you need to still work with it.
The whole thing, it's not about prompts, it's actually about workflows. So some of the enterprise engagements that we have with some of these large agencies with the VO, it's not about prompt engineering at all. It's actually about creating workflows, right? In that sense,
Absolutely.
and that allows people to actually create meaningful, getting character consistency. That's a workflow. Getting motion
Yeah.
right. That is a workflow. So it's actually not,
Writing the prompt,
the CMO, or if the CMO comes to you and tells you that write a prompt and create an ad, then actually it's our job to tell them that no, it's not just a prompt,
Yeah.
right? It's actually workflows that you have to create.
So the last area I wanted to discuss was that for an agency and for an advertiser separately, what kind of a tech stack, sorry, do you think? What kind of a tech stack these two need to be ready with, like today? What should they have? So
Yeah, I think certainly for a creative agency, for example, a lot of the tech comes from these creative or like your Mid Journeys, your Gemini, of course. ChatGPT has a lot of the outputs for image. I think there's Hicksfield and Nikesh, what's it called? Hicksfield.
Yeah,
Hicksfield. Yeah, that's again superior, like high end 4K video content. You have a like a tool called Suno, which is again for music generation.
Yeah.
With AI. We use this 11 labs or whatever for VO generation. So I think if you have maybe 4 5 of these kind of tools in place to sort of build out all the creative, that's one part of it. A lot of agencies today are also building the in-house agents, more specialized for, again, could be for copywriting, agents specifically for storyboarding, for brainstorm strategy. That's becoming one big part of saying how do you then, as ma'am said, that we're reducing the changing the kind of people working in the teams, right? Because some of it is now being done through these agentic AI systems
That's
being
right.
built in, which are again created specifically for very specific tasks, which are again bringing down redundancies, bringing down the time being spent on redundant tasks. Basically, I think
Sure.
that's one big part of it, and of course, upskilling our teams to work with media platforms very very importantly to sort of embrace a lot of your PMax and your advantage plus shopping and all of that, and don't be scared, right? That okay, when a job jaga se. But it's about how do you make the most of what you can get from these tools, these platforms, is how I would see it as.
Yeah, I think we talked about some of the creative tools. I want to go back to the other end, which is on the data side of things, right? So obviously, I think one of the most fundamental things everyone needs to do is to move all data to a cloud.
You said that, correct.
Right? Whether it is Google Cloud or whatever.
First.
How do you get all your data in one place? So I would say the right starting point will be to look at that end of the spectrum first, and then figure out how you can keep building. Because in between there are then again a multitude of platforms and stacks that are out there for different parts. But I think that is fundamental.
So then that brings me to the last question I asked. So in the next, say, 2 years, what is the picture you visualize?
I see smaller teams, like very very nimble small teams. I think when Nikesh like I'm 3 4 member team, but doing great top line revenues and bottom lines, of course. But I think like small satellite teams sitting in different parts of the country, not needing physical spaces. I think a lot of collaboration happening across multiple streams. I think a lot of education required in this space also. I think just breaking this inertia that I should not be using AI. I think it's become somewhat like a taboo in some forms of the way. Like people are very scared in many ways to actually embrace it. But I think we need to just get away of this inertia and start using it. Because I think also there's so many tools. I think people are confused saying what do I use, when do I
Absolutely.
use, how do I use. And I think that just comes by just getting your hands dirty, honestly. Like, you'll figure out what works best for you when you actually start using them.
Nigesh, you want to paint the picture for us? What kind of a world you see from your window?
No, see, first of all, let me say I'm very excited for the future. But now, in terms of how, from a working environment like Akshay, there might be smaller departments, departments who execute bigger projects and things like that. And there'll be a lot of collaborations as well, hyper-focused, let's say, services would come in. Today, even in the AI agentic world, a lot of people are focused on certain niches rather than giving an agent for the entire business. To give you an example, Cursor, Lovable, and probably Replit, not the best example to take forward, but these are companies that's been now in $1 billion valuation who are actually fine-tuned models of all the big elements that we're talking about, and they're like 10-member team. Right, building workflows and systems rather than individual tool, relying on individual tools is going to be the name of the game. Because no one single tool would work out for you for solving your grand scheme of the problem that you're trying.
So I want to add one more angle to this entire thing, which will further make things more difficult or different. I think there's one revolution which is expected soon, where the homes will become fully smart homes. Okay, I think we are at we'll soon reach some tipping point. So when the entire home is also a smart home, okay, then that adds one more different dimension to the entire thing, right? Because then everything about the house is controlled from one
IoT, everything's connected.
phone. That is going to happen. We are going to see that revolution happening now. Samsung has already done a lot of work. And what do you see as a scenario in say 2 years, from an advertiser standpoint? What can you kind of crystal gaze?
See, definitely more surfaces, right? That's the opportunity in that sense. Even when quick commerce started, we as a platform, we are also enabling customers to serve ads on those surfaces, right? In that sense. So I think with every discontinuity, for example, if you go way back, printing press, combustion engine, computer, mobile, now AI. Right, I really think that every such large discontinuity that has happened, and there are several more in between. I'm just illustrating. It has basically, I think, created more opportunity for people.
Sure.
So just like more devices which are connected are actually more surfaces, possibly to advertise on or possibly to make your life better. Because I'm wearing 3 connected devices right now on my body. So I think it's just more opportunity. It gives more insight. This allows me to understand my health a little better.
So if you can just tell us, as an advertiser, what kind of a new world do you see which is AI driven? Can you give us some idea in terms of in 2 years, what kind of workflow world do you see?
One is that I probably will have very different kind of talent sitting in my teams. For example, today I'm not willing to have a person who's only creative in my team. I'm saying you need to be creative project management skills also, because a lot more needs to be managed. So I think the kind of people that one will look for will be different, because I'm hoping that they use AI and provide both left brain and right brain approaches to work. The second thing, I see my ecosystem changing dramatically. The kind of vendors, agencies, partners, independent, contractors who are coming to do my work is already changing. Beware the traditional agencies, as we call them. I think we'll probably have lesser interactions with them and a lot more interactions with, the new age philosophies and systems are working. The third thing that I'm already seeing changing, I've been working for 30 years, and for a long time we were dealing with agencies and entrepreneurs who were older. And today the whole AI work, Nikesh, that I was telling you about, the film that we got done in 15 lakhs, it was all managed by a 22-year-old boy, everything that I did. So that is also something that I see around me that is changing.
All right. So thank you very much, everybody. I think we have touched upon various facets of AI, and I think the whole content with multiple perspectives is nice, rich. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you everyone. Thanks, Shripad. Thank you.